So I've watched Titanic 4 times in the past month, and I'm starting to think Rose's mother is the worst character in this movie. So the first time we see Ruth is about 20 minutes into the movie. She arrives at the Titanic in a lavish car alongside Rose and Cal. And while Rose seems very uninterested in the Titanic, Ruth walks out the car like, oh, this is what I'm talking about, baby. We're about to be rich.
So this is the ship they say is unsinkable.
So they get onto the ship. We then see a couple of scenes of Rose and her mother walking through the hallway, always wearing something new and lavish. And then we see Ruth at breakfast alongside Rose, Cal, Molly, Ismay, and Captain Edward Smith. Now while they're at the table, Rose lights up a cigarette, and immediately when she does this, Ruth's whole expression on her face changes. It's almost like she's thinking, if I don't get this girl under control, we are fucked. So then she goes, Rose, I told you I don't like it when you do that.
You know I don't like that, Rose.
And then Rose casually turns her head and blows a bunch of smoke in her mom's face. And when she does this, Rose's mom looks extremely ashamed and she looks down like, oh God, we are done for.
It's over. We are screwed.
So then Molly's like, hey, so who thought of the name Titanic? Was it you, Bruce? So then Bruce or Ismay goes,
I wanted to give the ship a name that conveys size and opulence and blah blah blah.
And then Rose says something like, well, that's because you got a tiny pee-pee. Right, I'm paraphrasing here, but that's exactly what she said.
Maybe that's why guys with small dicks get huge mansions.
His ideas about the male preoccupation with size might be of particular interest to you.
And when she does this, Ruth essentially says, Rose, why are you doing this? We're very close to getting that money. Shut the F up.
What's gotten into you?
And that's when Rose just storms off and leaves the table. So at this point, we can see what the dynamic is. Ruth wants her daughter to act classy and like a lady in front of everybody. And Rose is trying her best to conform, but she's really thinking, I'm 17 years old and I already feel like a prisoner. So the next time we see Ruth again, she's keeping up appearances, mingling with the rich folk at dinner with Rose. And while Rose is seemingly zoning out and dying from the inside, Ruth is there having casual conversations with people, smiling, having a good time, and you can tell that she could care less about her daughter's happiness. And another thing, even though we see Ruth constantly smile and laugh throughout the first moments of the movie, it almost comes across as being fake. But there's one moment in this movie where she genuinely smiles and you can see the satisfaction on her face. And this moment conveys everything about her personality. But we'll talk about that in a second. So after this, the scene where Rose saves Jack happens. Calvin offers Rose the heart of the ocean. Rose then ends up bonding with Jack and Jack shows her his drawings. And then we see Ruth once again, and this time she's sitting with her rich friends having tea. And during the conversation, you can tell they're talking about university. Keep in mind that back then, women didn't really go to university. So then Ruth goes, oh, Rose doesn't have to go to university. She's already found a man that's balling.
But the purpose of university is to find a suitable husband.
And she says this with so much pride and conviction that you can tell this is the only thing she sees Rose doing, marrying a rich husband. Molly then enters the room and one of the girls are like, oh no, there's that brown woman. It's time to get out of here. Right? And then Ruth is like, oh, you're right. Let's bounce.
Look, here comes that vulgar brown woman.
So Ruth and her friends begin leaving the room. Molly goes, where are you guys going? I just got here. And then Ruth with a smile on her face goes, we're actually trying to get away from you, you maggot. And then Molly goes, that sounds like a good idea. Let me come with you guys anyway. And then almost immediately Ruth's fake smile fades away and they walk out of the room. Now, as the ladies are walking around the ship, they're probably having conversations about how much money they have and their favorite croissants. And then out of nowhere, they run into Jack and Rose, who are now just spitting off the Titanic. And the look on Ruth's face when she looks at Jack is priceless. It's almost like it's saying, look at this despicable piece of trash. So Jack then gets invited to dinner. He shows up wearing a suit that Molly gave him. And then we have the infamous dinner scene. And in this scene, we see Ruth give off true, genuine happiness. Right? While everybody's talking about how rich they are, Ruth then looks at Jack with genuine happiness and goes, Jack, tell us more about that shithole you're living in. Right? Because at this point, she's trying to expose Jack in front of everyone as a filthy, dirty maggot.
Tell us of the accommodations in steerage, Mr. Dawson.
And this moment really tells you what kind of person Ruth is. She's the kind of person who looks down on people with less money than she does. And she finds genuine joy in making a person with less money feel insignificant, especially when they're around her and Rose. Now the thing is, even though she's trying to put down Jack puts a spin on everything she says, and eventually when Ruth realizes, okay, this is not working, her smile fades away. So after this scene, Rose goes to party with Jack on the 3rd floor. They end up having a good time. Cal then confronts Rose the next day. And after this, we get to see a very monumental scene that puts together Ruth's character. While Rose is getting her corset tightened by her assistant, Rose's mom then enters the room, and in that moment, it's like darkness just arrived. When she enters the room, she tells the assistant to leave. She then locks the door. She then begins helping Rose with her corset in a very confrontational way. And then she goes, "Rose, I don't want you to see that broke boy again. Do you hear me? I'm trying to get paid."
You're not to see that boy again.
Rose then gives her mom a very sly comment. And then Ruth is like, "I'm not playing around, Rose. Do you really want to see me get a job?" Right. She makes this whole thing about herself, and when Rose finally agrees to everything, Ruth is like, "Oh, that's my girl. You're the best." Right? She just went from crying a second ago, and then in 0.05 seconds, she's kissing Rose on the cheek, and she has no tears in her eyes. Like none. And this tells you one thing. Ruth is emotionally manipulating her own child to get what she wants. She then keeps tightening Rose's corset, which is very symbolic of the fact that Rose is now trapped in her mom's grip. So after this, it seems like Rose has accepted her fate. We see her singing alongside her mom, looking as miserable as ever. Ruth then takes a walk with Cal and Rose, and that's when Jack pulls Rose into a room and tells her, "Look, I want you, Rose. You're suffering." Rose then says something like, "I can't be with you, Jack. I'm engaged." Rose then storms off. She then meets up with her mom for dinner, and as usual, her mom is looking happy. She's with her rich friends, probably saying something like, "Oh my god, the pesto is amazing." And Rose once again is just sitting there dying from the inside, while her mom could care less about how her own daughter feels. So cool. So after this, Rose goes to meet Jack. She has her "I'm flying" moment. Then Jack ends up drawing Rose, as Rose gets completely naked. They then leave a drawing of what just happened right there. And they end up in a car at the bottom of the ship where Rose touches the window like, "Oh, Jack." So after this, the Titanic hits the iceberg. And at this point, Rose's mom and Cal don't really know how much danger they're in. So we then see them both in a room. Cal is showing everybody the naked photo of Rose that Jack drew. And for the first time throughout this whole movie, we see Rose's mom drinking some alcohol, right? And she's just pacing up and down the room like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have to get a job after this, oh." So then Rose shows up with Jack hand in hand, and at this point they're making a statement saying we're together now, and we don't care who knows about it. So they show up to tell Cal and Rose's mom about the Titanic sinking. Cal then frames Jack for stealing the diamond, and I swear to god, Rose's mom says nothing during this entire confrontation, right? And we can tell that Cal is still trying to fight for Rose after everything that happened. So Rose's mom is probably thinking, "Oh yeah, we're still in the game, baby." So Jack gets arrested. Ruth at this point still doesn't know how badly the Titanic is sinking. So she goes, "Hey you, I want a cup of tea when I get back to my room." Right?
I'd like a cup of tea when I return.
Because now that Jack is gone, it's business as usual, and now her worries about getting a job are out the window. Okay, so cool. The next time we see Ruth is when she's about to get on the lifeboat. Everybody is scrambling and scared. Everybody wants to get a seat on the lifeboat. And that's when Ruth says something so ridiculous that tells you who she is as a person. She essentially goes, "I hope there's no poor people on my lifeboat."
Will the lifeboats be seated according to class?
And that's Ruth's character on full display. She doesn't value or see poor people as living things or worthy of being rescued. And she believes that just because she's got money and because she's getting more money because of Rose, she's better than everybody. So Rose then tells her mom to shut up. Ruth at this point believes that Rose is about to jump in the boat with her, but then Rose disappears to go and find Jack while Ruth is being lowered into the ocean. So Ruth is going, "Rose, what are you doing? Rose, get back here. Rose!"
Rose!
But at this point, it's too late, and this is going to be the last time she sees Rose alive. So after this, we see Rose go and save Jack. We get to see the Titanic sink even more. And as the Titanic sinks, Ruth is just sitting in the lifeboat with an empty look in her eyes, and you can tell she's worried. She's scared. And maybe she's worried because she'll never see Rose again. I mean, she did treat Rose like an object, but I think maybe she did care about Rose a little bit. But at the same time, you know she was probably thinking, I'm broke. My cash cow is sinking along with the Titanic. Oh. Now at one point while the Titanic is still sinking, Molly's in the same boat as Ruth. And Molly goes, let's go back and save as many people as we can. I mean, we have enough space on this boat. We can actually fit more people on it.
Come on, girls. Grab an oar. Let's go.
But what does Ruth do in this moment? She sits there in complete silence. She doesn't say a word. And on one hand, one could argue that she's in complete shock about everything that just happened. You know, maybe she feels like her daughter is dead and she'll never get her back. But at the same time, one could argue that Ruth was probably thinking, I don't want to go back there. We just barely made it out alive. What, are you crazy? Right? I mean, I love Rose, but not that much. I don't know about you guys, but if that was my child, I'm going back. Or at least I'm going to voice the fact that I want to go back. But Ruth sits there in complete silence, and that is very telling. So the Titanic sinks, Jack and Rose end up on the door, Jack dies, Rose gets rescued, and because Rose never tries to find her mom one day, her mom ends up believing that Rose is dead. And because she's like 60 years old and she lost her cash cow, she probably had to live a very hard life without Rose. So, in essence, Rose's mom was probably the biggest villain in this movie. I mean, she did try to give her daughter, who was only 17 years old, to a 30-year-old man just for financial wealth. And to top it off, she always felt like she was better than everybody, as long as she was making more than them. So yeah, Rose's mom was a villain. That's all I can say. That's it for the video. Someone asked me to focus on the notebook next, so I'll probably do that. And yeah, catch me in the next one.